How we doing, people? Back again. Another show, transfer time. Going to be talking a little bit about the updates from the Arsenal world. Now, last night, if you haven't checked it out, please make sure that you do so. Let's head over to the Calafiori news because last night or yesterday it broke that Arsenal have now agreed terms with him and he is going to be an Arsenal player. Calafiori is going to be exciting. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about bids coming in for Eddie Nketiah and what that might mean for his future away from Arsenal. We're going to talk a little bit about Emil Smith-Rowe, who Crystal Palace and Fulham are still after. We're also going to talk about the rumours that are surrounding Chido Obi Martin, a youngster that everybody wants to keep at Arsenal, but it may be that he is actually going to be making a move away. So we have to be talking about some incomings as well as outgoings, but at the moment, after the Calafiori news, I expect anyway, over the coming days, excuse me, to see some outgoings as far as Arsenal are concerned. Big up to all of you in the chat. Make sure you're doing me a favor and hitting the like button. Make sure that you're hitting subscribe. Big up to Aaron, who is a member. If you would like to be a member, you can click like, subscribe, and join. And you will pay a minimum fee towards the content of the channel. So big up to Aaron for doing so. Big up to Mum in the chat. Big up to Mohammed. Big up to Mustafa. Big up to Mark. Big up to Donna. Hope you're well. Big up to Niffin. Big up to Mafia. And big up to Jake. Big up to Carol. And big up to everybody else that's listening and also watching on catch up. Once you've hit the like and subscribe button, if you would like to join, you can click join. Any super chats you've got, any questions you've got, throw them into the chat room and we will discuss them. If you put a Q at the start, I then know it's a question. It's easier for me to star. If you do have a super chat, it will automatically star and go to the front of the queue. So do as you please. Almost 100 of you watching already, which is fantastic numbers. So please click the like button, people, and we will get into it. Calafiori. Fabrizio Romano, we want to talk about him, don't we? Because Fabrizio Romano is a guy who we all see as very reliable. I think he's the most reliable or one of the most reliable that's out there. And, of course, David Ornstein. Both of them have some Arsenal news or breaking news that surrounds Arsenal. And this has actually been retweeted or reposted by Romano from Caught Offside. Calafiori to Arsenal negotiations have never stopped. Even if it was not easy at times, according to Fabrizio Romano, they were forever ongoing. So there was the rumor, wasn't there, that deals might have been stalled and we might have had the, oh my God, Edu and Arteta are going to get this wrong. We're going to believe that there's a complete uproar in the fan base about how this is not going to be able to get done now. Well, it doesn't seem that that is the case. It seems to be the case that this is going to be a done deal, and it's one that Arsenal are very excited about. Now, Calafiori, a lot of people are suggesting that he's going to come in the first team to replace Gabriel. I wanted to touch on that quick. I do not think that is going to happen. I think it would be foolish to split up the partnership of Gabriel and Saliba, right? It really would. For me, putting Gabriel and Saliba together and keeping them there is absolutely pivotal and a must. But Calafiori, I think, will come in at left back. Now, Timber, the people will go, well, question marks over him now. We've just signed him as well previously. Like, he's our left back, right? Well, he played left back in the pre-season of last season and at the Community Shield was our man of the match. That doesn't mean, though, that he's going to stay there because he's had an injury which has kept him out for the whole of the season. Therefore, we don't know what is going to happen to him when he comes back in an Arsenal shirt. It could be that Zinchenko and Kivior look towards their futures at Arsenal, but that's another story. For me, Timber absolutely will be cover and could still play at left back. And I think it's about competition. I was listening to Tony Cascarino this morning on TalkSport talking about how Sir Alex Ferguson used to just buy and buy and buy. And you'd think, doesn't need another centre-back, doesn't need a fourth striker. But he used to do that because he used to build that squad. So for me, when I'm looking at what we could do in the defensive department, we've got a lot of versatility now. Tommy Asu can play in a number of positions. Ben White also. Julian Timber also. You've got now Calafiori coming into the mix. So what does that mean for the future of the Arsenal backline? Well, I think when everybody is fit, David Raya is going to be in goal. We're going to have Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, and now Calafiori, I think. And I think that could be the best defence in the league. Now, statistics have proven that last season Arsenal were right up there. Goalkeeping, Golden Glove, fantastic defensive record, clean sheets, Gabriel and Saliba partnership. Ben White, very underrated at how good he is at one-on-one defending, but also how comfortable he is on the ball. And I think we're adding another player there at left back now in Calafiori. This morning, Tony Cascarino likened him to a Sergio Ramos type player. I've heard before, baby Maldini. Now, as much as that is probably potentially getting a little bit carried away, I don't think we can ignore that. And what I mean by it is, let's see what attributes he does have as to why people are looking at that comparison of that type of player. How quality both of those are, or how quality both of those have been. Paolo Maldini and Ramos would probably get into a world ever 11 of mine. Paolo Maldini is by far one of the best defenders I've ever seen, and Sergio Ramos has won it all in football. If you're looking at a youngster being compared with those names, this guy's highly rated, man. Last season, he was the best defender in Italy. Everybody spoke about him being the best in the next decade. He will be the best centre half to come. And people are looking at him and Saliba now as the potential partnership at Arsenal. But I don't think we can sleep on Gabriel. I don't think Gabriel's going to be shoved out here. I think Gabriel's got a key role to play still. I see him as one of the leaders on the pitch. He's definitely now one of the most experienced. He's, 26 years old, 25, 26? He's not a youngster anymore, Gabriel. There's no way that he's coming out of this side. He's going to stay. And I think that partnership will stay. Calafiori will, I believe, start as the left back. And maybe in the future, when Gabriel touches 30 in the next 3 years, and we get to a 25-year-old Calafiori, that he might be a centre back. Absolutely. We may well see that. So I think that is where Calafiori fits in. I love how comfortable he looks on the ball. I think it's really impressive the way that he is able to be the defender that ball carries as well. A little bit like Ben White does when he inverts on the right-hand side. He looks very similar in that mould. I think how comfortable he is on the ball helps with his range of passing, not just by keeping the ball spraying, but some of his long-range passing that I've seen looks very, very good. And you look at the stats and the attributes of the player, and you totally understand why Arteta and Edu were looking at this guy. What I find most exciting, though, and I said this last night, is his priority was to come to Arsenal. We were interested, Italian clubs were interested, Juventus being one of them. That's really exciting because this guy wants Arsenal because he's believed in whatever has been sold to him by Edu and Arteta. And this project is something he's clearly into. So I'm excited by it. I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. And I think that we will see him start the season as a left back. And I think him and Timber will both be molded into this first team squad. So I really don't feel like it's anything to worry about. People do sometimes do this, don't they? What does that mean for Gabriel? What does that mean for Timber? What does it mean for Zinchenko? It means we've got a squad. It means we're building. We don't want 11 players, right, guys? We need a squad. So I'm really for this. I think it would be a fantastic signing and one that I think will be very, very much on the kind of lips of everybody the coming months to see how he gets on. Obviously, it's interesting that Lenny Yoro has now gone to Manchester United as well. Somebody else who's extremely highly rated for the future and one that Real Madrid would definitely look. We'll have to see where we're at with this one, won't we? And believe who's going to have the better season now. That'll be a comparison now, won't it? That will be 100%. They'll be talking about it, saying, "Oh, who's better? Is it Lenny Yoro or is it Calafiori?" Sarah, big up to yourself. Thank you so much for becoming. Would like to be a member? All you need to do after hitting like and subscribe is join, and you can become a member of the channel. Big up to all of you that have done that so already. How many likes have we got already? We've got 57. Let's get up to 100, please, people. It's still early days, but we can do it. There's nearly 250 people here already. So let's make, or over that now, in fact. So let's make sure that we can get to 100 likes very quickly. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the other news, shall we? Because it isn't just Calafiori that we're doing business with. Calafiori looks to be done deal. That one we can now put to bed, and we don't have to worry about any more defensive rumours. But we are looking at goalkeeper rumours. And the goalkeeper rumours that we're looking at, again, has come from Fabrizio Romano. Romano is interested to keep and track on because I believe he is, I'm actually going to say, I think he is the most reliable. I really do. I think he is the most reliable. And the next bit of news regards Tommy Setford, 18-year-old goalkeeper who is set to become the Arsenal player by signing his contract today. Now, all we know about this lad is that he's the under-20s goalkeeper for England, playing for Ajax, born in Amsterdam, but is English and represents his national club. He's one that's highly rated, could be a big talent, quoted over in Amsterdam. and this one's going to get done. I don't know how much it's going to be in total. It's kind of undisclosed, but it's no more than 1 million all in. So that's going to include add-ons and probably higher aspiration fees and stuff like that. But that's not going to cost much, is it? I believe this will be an academy goalkeeper that could potentially become our third choice goalkeeper. So it's one to definitely keep an eye out for. Now, I don't know how much your belief is about this goalkeeping situation. I've done a show on it the other day. Personally, I feel like there's the potential for us to completely revamp our goalkeeping structure. I know that David Raya is number one, and I've made my thoughts on that and my opinions on that I believe personally we can do better than David Raya in the long term and go and get a world-class goalkeeper. But for now, he seems to be the number one that everyone's happy with, including Mikel Arteta. But what happens after that? If Tommy Setford's coming in, at the moment, he's definitely not good enough to back up to David Raya. He's literally just starting his career as an 18-year-old. So that means that he'll be in the under-20s, in the reserve side, and potentially be called upon if we need a third-choice goalkeeper. So where does that leave the future of Aaron Ramsdale? Well, Aaron Ramsdale is a player that I think will end up leaving. I don't know how much we'll get for him, but I hope it's £30 million. But that one definitely is something that we need to look at, because we need to kind of get him sold soon so that we can bring somebody in and that he can start bedding in as the number two. Now, there's a lot of rumours around other players that Arsenal are interested in goalkeeping wise, and I think that we need to be realistic about that. We have signed Nygaard, but let's be real. I don't expect to see much of him. He doesn't particularly look like someone that I would be incredibly excited about signing. Let's just be honest about it. I think we need to be. So Tommy Setford is coming in. Per Mertesacker has been quoted to say, "We welcome Tommy Setford to Arsenal. He's a young goalkeeper with big potential. We look forward to supporting his development in the coming years. The first step on Tommy's development pathway with us will be to integrate into our under-21s academy group and train regularly with our first team goalkeeping group." So this one is one they see for the future. He's not someone that's going to come straight in, but he has signed for Arsenal. It's a done deal. So I think we need to look at what we've got here. I don't believe we're going to have any massive excitement to see much of Tommy Setford yet, but that's something we've got to see. Sky Sports News has also been told another Premier League club, as well as Juventus and Real Madrid, tried to sign Calafiori in the last 10 days. However, the player only wanted Arsenal and gave his word that he would join. Now, that is phenomenal. The other Premier League club are going to be Chelsea. Let's just have it right. The other Premier League club are going to be Chelsea. Juventus and Real Madrid trying to sign him. I knew there was interest by Juventus. I didn't know Real Madrid were interested. That's very, very interesting, seeing as they're both linked with Lenny Yoro and Calafiori. But the player only wanted Arsenal. And that, to me, you have to say, is praise to Arteta and Edu, because they are two players that they are two massive key parts of why players want to come to Arsenal. There we go. I got it right in the end. So for me, when someone is set on the club, like Declan Rice was, like Ben White was, like Calafiori was, and other clubs are sniffing around, you have to put the praise there on Edu and Arteta. You have to, because they clearly want Arsenal, not because they're in London and they wear red and white. It's more than that, right? They're a big club, Champions League club. This all comes into play, but they have to be sold the project, and it looks to me as if they have been now. It really does. So I'm a big fan of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and that really does excite me. That these are the guys that we're trying to get him. That's fantastic. But I was talking about goalkeepers, wasn't I? Tommy Setford, obviously, we've known now is an Arsenal player and is one that will definitely be kind of there for the future. But I wanted to bring up this news because if you remember, not long ago, we bid for Dan Bentley. And yes, it's come up again. This one's confusing. Does it mean that we want him still? Well, at the moment, AFC Stuff, who I follow quite a lot on Twitter, say that Arsenal have made a new and improved bid for the Wolves goalkeeper, Dan Bentley. It's thought to be in the region of £300,000. Despite Wolves wanting £1 million for the player, the two clubs are close to agreeing on a compromise. So how true is this one? I thought it was an absolute insult to be bidding £50,000 for a Premier League goalkeeper. It's one that I look at and think, yeah, it makes sense. The goalkeeping coach knows him. They grew up together when he was at Brentford. Well, they didn't grow up together, but you know what I mean. The goalkeeper coach saw Dan Bentley through his Brentford days. So he's obviously a player that we know, believes that he's a big fan of Arsenal, would like to come. If Bentley's come in and Setford's come in, what does this mean? Is Bentley the number 2 and Setford's the number 3? Or is Dan Bentley the number 3? Setford's just a youth academy player, and we're still looking at a number 2. Could Arsenal sign 3 goalkeepers this summer window? I think they could. We're linked with one Garcia as well from Espanyol, who would be the number 2. Lunin has suggested that he might be going from Real Madrid to another club. Are Arsenal still interested in Lunin? Can Zinchenko have a word of his Ukrainian teammate and say, let's get you over to Arsenal? Arsenal could sign a lot of goalkeepers here. Now, I thought personally we'd probably get one in, and that was it, to replace Ramsdale. Ramsdale would leave, we'd get somebody else in. When I saw the rumours of Dan Bentley and Tommy Setford, I thought, we're only going to get one of them. One of them will be the third choice, and then we'll go in for a second choice. Could we have Setford as the youth academy one, Dan Bentley as the third choice goalkeeper, and then a number 2 coming in, like a Lunin or a Juan Garcia? That could actually be the case. So, yeah, I've got to be real. Like, the goalkeeping thing is one that actually is going to be a lot more busier than I thought. I assume Ramsdale would leave, we'd replace Ramsdale. However, what I will say, if we are not going to upgrade on Ramsdale, or at least replace him with someone who's good enough to be a number 2, I'd rather just keep Ramsdale. Because if we're not going to be receiving bids of up to £30 million for Aaron Ramsdale at least, I kind of feel like we should just keep him because he's good, right? So do you want Dan Bentley sitting on your bench or Aaron Ramsdale? You want Aaron Ramsdale. Because you know it will be sod's law that we'll sell Ramsdale, give them Dan Bentley and Setford, and then Raya will break his hand or something. And then we've got to play Dan Bentley in goal for the rest of the season. Like, we've just got to think about the worst case scenario here. And people believe it's negative when you start talking about that. Oh, that won't happen. Who knows? He could break a finger. He could break a hand. He could, get himself injured. We need to have quality in every department. And Ramsdale is quality, whether you think he's good enough for number 1 or not. You have to be real and say that he is a top quality goalkeeper. This is a guy who 100% had us in the title race for a couple of seasons, right? This is a guy who came in his first season and absolutely proved everybody wrong. So I personally feel like we need to give some respect to Aaron Ramsdale over what he's done at Arsenal and how good he's been for Arsenal. But at the same time, I'm not going to be getting in his way at £30 million plus for him to go because he needs a career. But let's be real. If we ain't getting someone in that's going to be as good as, or if not better than him, then sorry, guys, but we're going to have to keep him. Like, real talk. So let's see what happens there. It's going to be interesting for sure. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other transfer news at the moment. I wanted to touch on Smith-Rowe because he was the captain yesterday, wore the captain's armband, which was always good for him to see. I'm speaking to a few people that I know that have got friends of the club, no ITK before everyone jumps down my neck. And I don't think Arteta wants to sell Emil Smith-Rowe. But I think if the bid was to be right, then it would be something that we looked at. So Emil Smith-Rowe, we're being told that Crystal Palace are looking at another bid for him and that they're going to be potentially putting in a better or improved bid than what they did previously. Obviously, Fulham are interested as well. I think it's going to have to be 45 to 50 million for us to be wanting to sell him. Now we've got a bit of a bidding war. I think we can get close to that now. I didn't think we would at the start because there was no interest. As soon as you get a couple of people interested, yeah, it's exciting then. It really is. Like, I think we could get into a position where Fulham and Palace are going 30 million, 35 million, 40 million, and it keeps going from there. So I'm kind of excited about what could happen here. Now, I like Smith-Rowe and I'd happily keep him at the club. I do believe personally that we're going to be in a position where we could be left short if Smith-Rowe was to go. Lots of people are suggesting Ethan Nwaneri is ready and he will step up and he will replace Emil Smith-Rowe. But that's a risk because he's a young kid and he might not be ready in the way that Smith-Rowe was ready in the squad. What's happening with Fabio Vieira? Is he going to stay at Arsenal? Is he going to be a player that wants to make a move, get first team football? Watch this space on that one. I think we'll end up keeping him because I don't see any interest. And if I'm honest with you, even if there was interest, I don't think we're going to get much for Fabio Vieira. But I expect Smith-Rowe bids to come in again. And Palace and Fulham might fight this one out. Now, Palace and Fulham are two clubs that will be good for him. He doesn't have to move. He's going to stay in London. They're two big clubs as well, to be fair. It's not like he's going down to a championship level. And at the same time, I actually think Palace would need somebody like this because they're losing potentially Eze, Guehi, Annalise in all one summer. That's too much to do that. Fulham, we've spoken about them before. They've done well with players. I think they're a club. I think they've got money now with Paulinho money coming in. They're looking to replace him with, I think, Andre from Fluminense, but they obviously are looking in that position as well. He can play right, he can play left, he can play attacking 10. That's what Smith-Rowe is for me, attacking 10. And I think he could have a very good career if it's away from Arsenal. But I do think there's a job for him still. I think they've got a job and a role to play at Arsenal still, Smith-Rowe. So I think we're going to have to watch the space on this one and see what happens in the coming days, because I believe there are going to be bids coming in, 100%. Also going to be bids coming in for Eddie Nketiah. Now, I don't know how much people know about the rumours of Eddie Nketiah, whether they believe he is going to go, where he's going to go to. Is he going to be staying in the Premier League, or is he going to be going abroad? Well, apparently, it looks like it might be Marseille at the moment. Marseille are the ones who are favourites, and it looks as if he's quite set on a move to Marseille. Apparently, he wants to join Marseille. He's been persuaded by the sporting project. Contract negotiations are progressing positively, and Marseille have already sent in their first offer to Arsenal. Now, there is no idea of how much that is. I have no idea how much that will look like, or how many. Where is it? It's not a. What am I trying to say? Where am I? Sorry, I've been distracted now by another bit of news. So I don't know how much money this is. I think we can look to get as close to 35 million as we can. Because if Elliot Anderson from Newcastle goes to Forest for that much, Eddie Nketiah definitely can go on at least for that. Yeah, that's what he should be going for, in my opinion. I don't rate Eddie Nketiah. If I'm honest with you, if I was a West Ham or a Fulham, I'd be trying to get him for 20 million. But Arsenal don't have to sell him for that. Though, however, need to get this guy gone and get him first team football. Because at 24, 25, you've got to be playing first team football. He's not a kid anymore, Eddie. He's been around for a while. In fact, he's been around for a long time. I remember watching him at the Emirates with my dad when he came on against Norwich and got 2 goals and put us through the League Cup. I remember that. That was a long time ago. It was about 18, I think, then, the kid. So we're looking now like 7 years on, and he's still not managed to break through into the Arsenal setup. So for me, it's good business if we do that. Marseille, I would not be surprised. Do not write off Premier League clubs coming in and trying to bid for Eddie Nketiah. Do not write that off. I think it could happen. I think people could come in for Eddie. And I think we're talking clubs like Forest, Fulham, West Ham, Wolves. Wouldn't be surprised if Everton, those sort of clubs might look at this and think, actually, we can get a player who's Premier League proven, albeit not good for Arsenal, but has scored goals for Arsenal, and his stats aren't too bad. I tell you what, let's put in 30 million and see if we can get him. And then that's where the bidding war starts. Similarly to what I've just spoken about with Emil Smith-Rowe. So I expect some movement on Eddie Nketiah, if I'm honest. If he's interested in Marseille, that surprises me because I thought he would have wanted to stay in England. But I suppose it's a new project. De Zerbi's just gone over there. De Zerbi would have known Eddie Nketiah from his Premier League time. So I think that could be an interesting move for him. But and to be fair, he's probably looking at the league thinking, Balogun can bang over there. How many goals can I get? So I think it might be a good signing for Marseille. We'll see. Not sure how much we're going to be able to get for him. He's not a player I like. He's not a player I rate. But if we can get anywhere close to 30 to 40 million, wow, we've got to do it, right? We've absolutely got to do it. It's something that has to happen. So that's interesting for sure. Another piece of news, which is very, very random, that I'm going to bring in before I talk about some other players, is Colin Kazim Richards. Does everyone remember this guy? He played at Sheffield United, played over at Feyenoord, Turkish international. He's joined our youth academy coaching staff. I had no idea. This one's completely come out of the blue. 16 hours ago, this was posted by himself, saying that he's joined the academy. Very strange, very, very odd. Did not see this one coming, but he's now joined the youth academy team. So I wanted to announce that because when I read it, I actually had to double check that because I weren't quite sure if that was news, banter, or if it was just actual truth. But apparently there's some truth behind it. So, yeah, that's definitely someone that we are looking at for sure. There are some academy players that have been named in the first team squad traveling for the tour of the United States. Alexi Rojas, Lucas Nygaard, Michael Rosiak, Aidan Heaven, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Jimmy Gower, Salah, Mini Salah, as everyone calls him, and Ethan Nwaneri. They are the guys that have come into the mix for the United States. So we're going to have to, aren't we? We haven't really got enough of the first team here. They're still over resting up from Copa America and the Euros. So we have to bring some of the youngsters in. I expect to see quite a few of them, if I'm honest. And I also expect to see a lot of them get game time. So pre-season is amongst us. It is upon us. But there is still news. And talking of youngsters, unfortunately, it does not look good for the future of Chido Obi Martin at Arsenal. Manchester United are very much interested. Arsenal have offered him a contract. We are not going to probably make a deal happen due to the fact that he is asking for a ridiculous amount of money. I think there's certain talk of agents being paid in this as well by like $1 million. Why? When he's our players. Doesn't really make any sense to me whatsoever. But signing a contract means an agent's involved, so therefore he'll probably want millions of pounds. I think he wants like 40 or 50k, which is mad when Smith-Rowe's on 40k. This is a 17-year-old, by the way. I don't think we've ever paid anybody more than 25k as a youngster. And this guy's asking for double, pretty much. So as much as I believe pay it if you think he's good enough, there's the other side, which is there is protocol, there is principle. And if you break one rule, it means everyone wants that. And then all of a sudden you're doubling everybody's wages in the youth system. So I don't know what's happening here. I find it frustrating because he's a player that's highly rated. I remember picking up the news thinking he scored 10 goals yesterday. Wow, now he scored 5. He's just scored 7. He's clearly a talent, this kid. No one else is doing that in the youth system from what I know. So he's very highly rated. He's a Danish international, so he's not got any loyalty to London or Arsenal. He's looking at apparently teams in the Premier League, but also away in Germany as well, and he's been visiting those clubs. He has apparently gone over to Manchester United. And according to David Ornstein, they are the favourites to get him. Now, this one would really hurt, if I'm honest with you. I thought we'd stopped on giving our talent to Manchester United. And as much as I appreciate that it is different to a Van Persie, it still isn't very good. Now, David Ornstein has stated that Manchester United are exploring the deal to sign Chido Obi Martin after Arsenal terms have expired. Arsenal made what they felt was a fair offer, but the youth striker decided to move on. The 16-year-old has visited Manchester United this week, and discussions are at an early stage, and others, not Manchester City, are also keen. That's come from The Athletic and David Ornstein. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, guys. I'd love to ask you in the chat, if this guy is as good as what we are saying he is, should we just offer him whatever he wants and keep him? Do we want to see the future of Chido Obi Martin? Well, I'd like to. I'd like to because I hear great things. I like to because I'm a real lover of looking at players like trying to find the next Bukayo Saka, trying to find the next Jack Wilshere, trying to find the next Cesc Fabregas, the next Tony Adams, the next Rocky, the next Ashley Cole. All of these guys that were a young talent at Arsenal that went on to have fantastic careers. I want the next one. When is the next one? Where is the next one? So I want to see what this guy's about. And unfortunately, according to Ornstein, it don't look like that's going to happen. Looks like Manchester United are interested. Now, what is quite scary is Manchester United are moving different. Their new structure has been put in place. Lenny Yoro is one of their players. The Ligt looks like he could potentially be on the way to Manchester United as well. Ugarte being linked. Xerxes now signed. If Chido Obi Martin is coming to Manchester United, he's obviously going to be sold by the new project to this structure. And when now that Barada's gone in and Jim Ratcliffe is there and Dan Ashworth's there, Jason Wilcox is there, these are footballing men. And they know how to get people moving to their football clubs. And this could be an exciting talent for sure. Not a fan if this is happening, because it's one player that I think we should be looking to try and keep. He's a youngster at Arsenal. He's not a youngster that should be going to Manchester United. He's not a player that should be looking at anybody other than trying to force his way into the first team along with Ethan Nwaneri, right? That's what we want to be seeing. Unfortunately, it looks as if Chido Obi Martin could be on his way. And that is a massive shame. A massive shame. No movement on Reece Nelson at the moment. I believe West Ham still have strong interest. Forest and Palace were sniffing around him. 15 to 25 million is being touted. I imagine it will be in between that with some add-ons if it does happen. And I think it will. Again, don't think it will be a massive bidding war. like Eddie and Smith-Rowe could potentially be. But at the same time, if there's a bit of interest, we've got to try and push for as close to 20 to 25 as we can, in my opinion. He's a good player, Reece. He's not going to make it at Arsenal. Excuse me. I'm sure he'll do well in the Premier League, and he's sure he's a player that will go and have a good career somewhere. But it's time for him to move on. It really is. Let's take some of your questions. Let's take some of your super chats. We're going to go to the super chats first. First of all, big up to Nick for the super sticker, for the super donation. Much appreciate that, my bro. I know you've put in a question as well, so I'll definitely bring that one up also. So big up to you. Mohammed has asked, big up, Dan, who do you prefer the most between Neto or Bakayoko? For me, there's only one answer to this: Bakayoko. I'm joking. Neto. The reason I say that is because those of you who listen to me, they know how much I love Pedro Neto. I am a massive fan of Pedro Neto, and I have been for about 3 seasons now. I understand he's injury prone. I understand that he might be a risk. But at £50 million, if the rumours are true that he wants to prioritise a move to Arsenal, I would love to see this one happen. I think Neto would be a phenomenal signing. He can play left, he can play right, he can play definitely as the attacking 10 or maybe even in the false 9. I've been so impressed by how versatile he can be. When he plays at Wolves, he creates or scores goals. Go and check it out, people. When he is fit, he is by far their best player. Wolves do not want to lose him. A lot of the Wolves fans that I speak to think he's better than Martinelli and Trossard. A lot of the Wolves fans I speak to would be gutted if he went, but understood that going to Arsenal would be a good move for him. Now, he's not going to start in the first team, but he could force his way into it for sure, because Trossard has. Martinelli has. Both those players did not start when they joined into the first team at Arsenal. Got into the mix, part of the squad, forced their way in and stayed there. Pedro Neto could do that. But we're not asking Pedro Neto to play 40 games like Wolves are a season. We're asking him to be a squad player. And for me, when you look at what he could do to be covered for Bukayo Saka, we're in a good place. Very good place. I think he would be a phenomenal signing. And for 50 million, it really isn't that much, guys. It really isn't. So keep an eye on how things shift there, because I think there's some movement and that one could potentially have some legs. This one comes in from Sean. Big up from Dublin, Dan. Big up, man. Hope you're well. Love the videos, man. Appreciate that. Always active. Big things coming for you. Keep up the work. Also, you and Curtis need to do your own podcast. Listen, Sean, you're a legend, my bro. Thank you so much, first of all, for your kind comments. I really appreciate that. To answer your last bit first, Curtis and I are doing something weekly now. We're alternating it. Now, obviously, the pre-season hasn't helped things because he's over there. I'm not going over to America. He is. He'll be over there. So it is going to be hard for us to do something on the same days regularly. But there will be an appearance for me and Curtis once a week. I'll be on his channel, and then the following week, he'll be on my channel. So definitely hit the subscribe here, hit the subscribe over at Curtis, hit the notification bells, and we'll be on each other's channels a lot, man. So make sure you go follow Curtis Shaw TV as well as subscribing to this one, because me and Curtis are going to be doing a regular thing. So yeah, look forward to that one. And listen, the kind words about big things coming for me. Listen, I'm not one of those guys. I've never dreamed to be the next Mark Goldbridge. I just do my thing, and I appreciate the support. And I absolutely love the fact that people are liking and subscribing and keep coming back, man. So I really appreciate your love for that, man. So thank you so much. I do appreciate it. This one's coming from Nick, put in a super chat, so I'm going to answer his question. It says, hi, Dan. Great shows. How confident are you of the Mikel Merino signing? I'm quietly confident that he would be willing to come to Arsenal. What I'm not confident about is how he would only put us as a priority. I think if Barcelona were interested, that would turn his head, particularly with Nico Williams potentially going there. Nico Williams is definitely wanted by Arsenal, but I don't think he wants to come to England. I think his dream is set on staying in Spain and playing for Barcelona. If Barcelona were to have Mikel Merino, Lamine Yamal, and Nico Williams in their midfield, they just need to add Dani Olmo, and they've got the Spanish Euro winning midfield. Dani Olmo is available, by the way. Apparently, the release clause has now expired, so it can't be activated, which was 50 million. But Leipzig would be willing to sell for 50 to 60 million. So actually, nothing's really changed. I expect Dani Olmo to leave. Manchester City, however, at the moment, apparently not in the race for him. So would that be an option for Arsenal? I'd absolutely love him, but I don't think with Ødegaard being there that he would be 100% set on that happening. This one comes in from Niffin. He says, hey, Dan, don't you think we need an 8 and a 10, especially if Smith-Rowe leaves? I'd love us to sign Ederson at Atlanta, and Olmo or Eze as the 10s would only cost around 80 or 90 million. Now, Niffin, this is a great point, because a lot of people have said to me that we just need a midfielder. I think there's more to it than that. With Jorginho and Partey not being here for past this season, Declan Rice is our only one, which means we need a 6 and an 8. And if Smith-Rowe is to go, maybe you're right. Maybe we need a 6, an 8, and a 10. And it's like, where does this stop? How many midfielders do we need? Our midfield at the moment isn't very strong. It's our weakest department by far. And a lot of people will say that we need a striker, and I agree, but it's actually stronger than our midfield, in my opinion. Because we've got Havertz, we've got Jesus, we've got Trossard that can all play in the 9. Martinelli would be able to, in my opinion, as well. Right now, we've literally got Rice as the only 8. Partey and Jorginho are the 6s, but they're hardly 100% going to be fit for the whole year. And that is where it stops, because after Erdegaard, with Smith-Rowe potentially leaving, we've got Fabio Vieira. So do we have enough quality there to go and take on Man City? I'm not so sure. I really am not so sure. Now, a lot of people I can see in the chat are talking about Adrien Rabiot. I don't want that. I know it's a free transfer. He's a French international and he's highly rated, but I just think he comes with a hell of a bad attitude. And from what I hear, people just aren't allowing him to settle at his club, at PSG, at Juventus. They're all getting rid of him because clearly there's something wrong there. I don't think that suits Mikel Arteta's mindset at all. I really don't. So I'll be surprised if we was to go and get him. So let's see. How are we doing on likes? There's 500 people in here. What are we on at the moment? We are currently on 158. Let's get that up to 300 likes, people. That's going to be easy to do. All of you just need to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Make sure you hit subscribe, people. We're so close to getting on our way to 22k. We now need to get that to 30k as a long-term target. So please make sure you're part of the community by doing that. As for Dani Olmo and Eze, we've kind of touched on that. Eze would be a phenomenal signing for us. I think he'd be a brilliant versatile player. Ederson, I need to look more at. I don't know if he's a 6 and 8 or both. If he plays in both, that could be a potentially good signing. I think that's an option for Arsenal, is if we was to get a 6 or an 8, but we weren't sure what one to get. If we weren't sure, we're going to need one that can play in both, like a Bruno Guimaraes type signing. That's my opinion. So you have Bruno, Rice, Jorginho and Partey, and then obviously Erdegaard, Smith-Rowe and Vieira. But for me, that's where I'm at. But big up for the question, Nifan. This is coming from Aaron, another member of the channel. Absolute ledge. Hope you're well, bro. Says, question, it's looking like we want to acquire before we sell in positions. Do you think that's why we're slowing the market? Maybe sell Nelson before signing Neto. Sell Eddie before a striker. Same with the goalkeeper. I think you're right, and I think that we have to. You know, there's no point bringing in players if they can't get rid of the ones we've got. Otherwise, the squad's going to get too big, right? We're not going to be able to register them all. So I believe there'll be outgoings before there'll be more incomings, that's for sure. And I know Arsenal want incomings, but we're going to have to try and sell some of these players. If Eddie Nketiah goes out, then the striker comes in. If Nelson goes out, then maybe a Neto or someone like that comes in. I think likewise with Emil Smith-Rowe. I don't think we link with any attacking midfielders because we've got Smith-Rowe at the moment. Central midfield is the only position that I think we could sign somebody in quickly, like a Mikel Merino. If he was £20 million, if he was interested in coming to Arsenal, I think we should get it done. I really do, because it's someone there that I believe can come straight in and be a part of the squad and be in the mix. So that's where I'm at. I don't see an exciting window for Arsenal in terms of, wow, look at that player. This is fantastic. Like, to lift Arsenal across the title line. What I mean by that is I don't think an Isak's coming in, people. I don't think Alexander Isak's coming to Arsenal. I don't think Frankie de Jong is coming to Arsenal. I don't think Bruno Guimaraes is coming to Arsenal. I don't think we're going to go and get a midfielder like Barella and everyone gets excited. That, for me, is not going to be that window. And I kind of can't help but think that Charles Watson, James Benge were talking about this on Twitter not long ago, saying that we believe that this season, this summer window could be in similar mold to the Jorginhos and Trossard signings that were quite coy and quite cute. I kind of see where they're meaning. At the moment, with the links to Calafiori and the links to Marino and the links to Pedro Neto, I don't think any of those signings would be any more excited than when we signed the Gabriel Jesus or Zinchenko. Maybe Calafiori because he's young and got potential and people are talking about him. Pedro Neto is Premier League proven, but injury prone. Obviously, Mikel Merino, that's not one that you go, wow, Arsenal are now ready. So the players we're being linked with, I kind of agree. I think this is an opportunity for us to have a good window, but is it going to be like a 9 or a 10? It kind of needs to be if we want to be ahead of Man City next season, but I can't see any players realistically Arsenal are going to sign in this window that makes us go, wow, unless there's a shock. And we signed Nico Williams and we signed Alexander Isak and we was to go and put in a bid for attacking midfielder like Dani Olmo or Florian Wirtz. That then starts to get Arsenal excited. And let's be real, I know this isn't FIFA and we don't have £500 million, but at the same time, we were told that we would be sprinkling this team with gold dust once it was in a title race. That was what the words of our process and project were, right? We have to bring in the Tomiyasus and the Ramsdales. We have to bring in the Ben Whites. We have to bring in the Tavareses and the Lokongas first of all, and then we get better and better. and we sprinkled it with Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko. We've sprinkled it with Kai Havertz and Declan Rice, Jurriën Timber. We've sprinkled it now with Calafiori. But where are the world-class players? Where are the ones that make you go, yeah, everybody wants him and Arsenal on the names? Now, I'm not expecting us to go and buy Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. I'm realistic, right? But Alexander Isak, we should be all over that. Bruno Guimaraes, if he wants to be murmuring about moving, De Jong murmuring about moving, we should be all over that. If there is an opportunity for us to get Nico Williams, he's lit up the Euros, we should be all over that. That's the sort of window that Arsenal need to have, in my opinion. So I'm kind of believing that it should be an exciting one, but I'm also realistic, know that it might not. It might not be. Take a couple more of your questions. This one's coming from Aaron. I think you'd agree with me here. Why couldn't we sign Ivan Toney with the intention of signing Isak next season as well? Let's get it right. Toney and Neto improve us no end. This is a really good question because a lot of people are saying to me, if we don't buy a striker, Dan, what happens? Well, what happens is we'd still score goals and we might not win the league. But we might buy a striker and we still might not win the league. But you've got to maximise every single window and every opportunity that we've got to get across the line. And I think Isak would be a phenomenal signing. If it's not this summer, we should go all out for next summer, right? Ivan Toney, though, at £40 million would be a good signing for Arsenal because he improves on Eddie Nketiah. He upgrades on what we've got. And if I'm honest with you, I'd probably rather have him in front of goal than Havertz or Jesus because he's more clinical, that's for sure. He's proven that every year at Brentford when he's been scoring goals. Even the season this just gone, when he was eight months out, he was still bagging in goals when he come back, causing havoc, causing nuisance. When he come on for England, he made an impact, made a difference. I think he'd be a good signing. And I think that Aaron's right here. We could buy Toney this summer for 40 million, and we could still buy Isak next summer for 100 million. That's what could happen. We have to look to get things better every single window. And Mikel Arteta said it himself. Two things that really stuck in my mind. He said, we have to maximise every transfer window. Unfortunately, Arsenal haven't done that. Arsenal haven't signed a player, right, since August last year, because David Raya doesn't count people. Calafiori is going to be the first one since the summer of last year. That's crazy. We did nothing in January. Again, for the last 2 January windows, we've done nothing. So we need to be realistic about it. Yeah. I want to look at the scenario in a positive light and hope that we have our targets. Yes, it doesn't look amazing at the moment because we're not getting all these players in through the door and there's not many people that are leaving, but it will happen. And I've got to say that we are in a good position with the squad that we have got, at least. I know for a fact Arsenal and Man City at the moment are going to be in a title race next season. What I don't want to do is just accept that it's a title race, don't have to do much, and it doesn't matter if we don't get 3 or 4 players in because we'll be up there next season. What I will say, it's risky, but it's also good and bad. I don't know what Man United are going to be like. It could be good because we got no idea what they're going to be like. They might get 4th, they might get 10th. But they could surprise. Chelsea, Tottenham, Villa, Liverpool, Newcastle. What are they all going to be? Are any of them going to be in a title race? I mean, I'd say no, but I wouldn't want to put my house money on it because one of them could be. Arne Slot could be like, boom, Liverpool back. Manchester United under a new structure with Ten Hag not looking at transfers and just looking at coaching. It could start to develop. Could Chelsea under Maresca go bang? Could Aston Villa do a Champions League football? Can Ange Postecoglou be back to go and put a style of football that we all know what it is at Tottenham? Is that going to work potentially consistently with more players? What are Newcastle going to be like without their injuries and some players added if they keep Isak and Bruno? These are all massive questions that I have no idea to answer. I could tell you now, I think Manchester City are winning the league with what I'm looking at now. Unless things change with Arsenal, that could change and we go, right, we're ready now. And we're now favourites. But I'm putting Arsenal and Man City in a title race. But where are Liverpool in this mix? Where are the other teams? It's a massive question mark. So I'm not too sure. Let's take this one as the last question because I think it's a nice segue into how I want to end. Nick, big up yourself, man. Do you trust our Arsenal, Dan? Because they always leave the squad short of strength and depth every season. If you haven't seen it, go over to the Highbury squad because I did a show with Sophie a couple of nights ago. And there was 5 non-negotiables. The 5 non-negotiables that I put in place, one of which was do not leave us short this window. Because I agree with Nick. We've been left short for a long time. This goes before Mikel Arteta, by the way, and Edu. We used to be left short with Arsene Wenger. There, I need to remind you the fact that we actually had one transfer window where we bought a goalkeeper and no outfield players in Nketiah. Funnily enough, we come second to Leicester that year. What would have happened if we would have got the players in? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So I look at that scenario right there and I think, do we have strength in depth in every position? No. Do we have cover in every position? Yes, we do. But is there adequate cover? No. Is the drop-off too big? Yes. So that means that we are looking at this window going up against Manchester City. We're not bringing in 3 players here. We need to sort out a goalkeeper if Ramsdale goes. We need to go and sort the defence out, which is looking like we're doing with Calafiori. We need a 6 and an 8 in midfield, and we probably need an attacking midfielder if Smith-Rowe goes. We definitely need a right winger, and we definitely need a striker. That's 7 players we're talking about. 7. And at the moment, we've not even got 1 across the line. Calafiori looks to be done, but that's it. Are we going to get 6 more players with 4 weeks to go for the season? It doesn't look likely. So we're going to have a very busy last few weeks at Arsenal. That's for sure. I don't want to be left short again. And then if I'm honest with you, if we are left short, I can't really blame Arteta or Edu. I've got to blame the Cronkies. Because if we're left short, it's not Arteta and Edu saying, don't really fancy buying anyone else. It's the Cronkies not putting up the money, surely. Because what are we waiting for? Go win the title. Go get the players in. So, can't jump to conclusions. Can't start pointing fingers yet. Window's still open. Got to wait for it to close. Got to judge it and believe that we are in a position where we can actually look at it when it shuts and go, wow, do you know what? There's no more Reece Nelson. There's no more Eddie Nketiah. We're not flinging them 2 on to try and win a game. No more bringing on Vieira as our best player. No more looking at the back thinking what's Zinchenko going to be doing. That bench now consists of a Martinelli, a Trossard, a Havertz, a Jesus, a Thomas Partey, a Tomiyasu, a Jurriën Timber. These are the guys sitting on the bench, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's better. Because that bench then isn't far off of Manchester City's bench. So that's the one I've got to be looking at, man. Last question of the day is from Aaron, and it's a super chat. It says, great content. I'll catch you at Arsenal soon, I am sure. Yeah, absolutely you will. Anybody that does want to come meet at the game and have a beer, more than happy to do that. Any of you season ticket holders, my block is block 5. Come over to block 5 at the start of the game. You'll get involved with all the atmosphere, all the noise. Anyone's welcome. Anyone who's coming to the games this season, come over to block 5 and come and say hello. You'll definitely see me and loads of other content creators that are there usually as well. So please make sure that you come over to block 5 and get involved in all the atmosphere and the noise, because at the moment in the concourse, it's absolutely flying. So that's where I'm at. Big up to all of you for being here. Make sure you all hit the like button. I know I keep asking it, but it is so important. I know I keep asking for subscribers. It's not me being a beg. It just does really help the channel. And I never used to do it, if I'm honest. I've only started to do it in the last few months. And I realized that actually, if you tell people, people are pretty good people and they're kind. They do listen. So please make sure that you do that. It would be amazing. We're nearly at 250 likes, people. Let's make sure that we can get there. There's only 30 of you left to hit the like button. Make sure that we get to that target. And then subscribers, make sure we hit those subscribers, please, people. The subscribe button. We want to get up to 30k, which is the next target. I'm sure you can all help in getting us there. Make sure you big up the community. Make sure you hit a like. Leave all your comments. I'll try and get back to as many as I can. So if you do want to ask a question in the comments section, please make sure you do that. I'm trying to do my best to get through as many as I can. So please make sure that you are doing that. Still 500 of you here. Big up to absolutely every single one of you. Much appreciate it. I'll be back later on. Take care. And as always, up the Arsenal. Latest, people.